Let's go back to the very beginning. For thousands of years, the land we now call Huntington Park was part of the ancestral homeland of the Tongva people. Long before roads and railroads, the Tongva built villages throughout the Los Angeles basin. They gathered native plants, hunted local wildlife, fished nearby waterways, and traded with neighboring communities, even traveling to the Channel Islands in remarkable wooden plank canoes. This wasn't empty land waiting to be settled. It was already home. Everything changed during the Spanish colonial period. Around 1810, the Spanish government granted nearly 29,000 acres of land to Don Antonio Maria Lugo, creating Rancho San Antonio. That enormous rancho included what would eventually become Huntington Park, Bell Gardens, Southgate, Cudahy, Linwood, Vernon, and parts of East Los Angeles. For decades, cattle ranching became the family's livelihood. The open grasslands that surrounded Huntington Park today were once covered with thousands of cattle. In 1821, Mexico gained its independence from Spain. California was no longer Spanish territory. It was now part of Mexico. The Lugo family continued operating Rancho San Antonio under Mexican rule, and life on the rancho continued much as it had before. But another major change was coming. Between 1846 and 1848, the United States and Mexico fought what became known as the Mexican-American War. When the war ended with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, California officially became part of the United States. The treaty promised that existing Mexican land grants would be honored, but honoring them turned out to be much more complicated than anyone expected. In 1851, Congress passed the California Land Act. Instead of automatically recognizing existing land grants, owners had to prove their claims in American courts. The legal process often lasted years. Surveyors had to be hired. Attorneys had to be paid. Court costs piled up. Families like the Lugos still owned enormous amounts of land, but they were becoming increasingly cash poor. Then nature delivered a devastating 1-2 punch. During the winter of 1861 and 1862, Southern California experienced catastrophic flooding. Rivers overflowed. Thousands of cattle drowned. Before ranchers had time to recover, years of severe drought followed. Between 1862 and 1864, the grasslands dried up. Water disappeared. Cattle starved by the tens of thousands. For ranching families, their livestock wasn't just food, it was their bank account. Almost overnight, much of that wealth vanished. Now imagine trying to recover from all that while still paying taxes and expensive legal bills. Many California families had no choice but to sell portions of their ranches. The Lugo family gradually sold sections of Rancho San Antonio over the following decades. What had once been one enormous cattle ranch slowly became smaller farms, parcels, and development tracts. Without those land sales, Huntington Park would never have existed. By the end of the 19th century, two land developers saw opportunity. A.L. Burbank and E.V. Baker purchased approximately 100 acres known as the Sunrise Tract. They subdivided the property and gave it a simple name, La Park. Their vision wasn't to create a city, they wanted to develop a commercial center that would take advantage of Southern California's rapid growth. But they needed one thing above everything else: transportation. At the same time, railroad entrepreneur Henry Huntington was expanding the Pacific Electric Railway through Southern California. Burbank and Baker offered him a railroad right-of-way through their development. Soon afterward, La Park became Huntington Park. The arrival of the famous red cars connected this small community directly to Los Angeles and surrounding cities. Almost immediately, people began moving in. Here's something many people don't realize. Burbank and Baker developed the subdivision, but they weren't the founders of the city. That distinction belongs to the local residents, led by Dr. Lewis W. Weber and other community leaders. Residents organized schools, secured regular train service, improved local infrastructure, and repeatedly petitioned to become an incorporated city. On September 1st, 1906, Huntington Park officially became a city. Its population, just 526 people. Growth came quickly. Pacific Boulevard evolved from a quiet street into the city's commercial center. Roads were paved, businesses opened, schools expanded, homes filled what had once been open farmland. The red cars made commuting easy, attracting even more families looking for opportunity. Within less than 20 years, Huntington Park had become one of Southern California's fastest growing communities. What started out as Tongva homeland became Rancho San Antonio. The rancho became farmland, the farmland became a subdivision, and that subdivision became the city of Huntington Park. But just as the city found its footing, America was about to enter one of its most difficult periods in history, the Great Depression. And that's where part 2 begins. If you enjoyed learning about the early history of Huntington Park, join me for part 2, where we'll explore how the Great Depression, World War II, the post-war boom, and decades of change transformed this small railroad town into the vibrant community we know today.